They say silence is golden, but for the wise, it's also protection. Have you ever noticed? The older you get, the more you realize. Not every truth deserves an audience. Real power isn't loud. It's quiet, it's reserved, and often, it's hidden behind things left unsaid. As we grow older, our words should become fewer, not out of fear, but out of experience. Not because we're shrinking, but because we've learned what happens when our truths fall into careless hands. You see, age doesn't always bring wisdom. Most people simply grow older in body but not in depth. They still overshare. They still explain themselves. They still chase validation like they did in their youth. But the truly wise, the Stoics, the silent masters of life, they understood something far more valuable. What you protect with silence becomes your hidden strength. And that's exactly what this video is about. We're about to uncover 7 sacred truths you should never reveal as you grow older. Not because you need to hide who you are, but because some things are too precious to be handled by just anyone. Some truths deserve to be protected because they hold the peace you've earned and the dignity you've built through a lifetime of struggle, learning, and self-control. So if you're ready to walk the Stoic path where silence is not weakness, but wisdom, then this video is made for you. Let's begin with the first and most misunderstood form of power: money. In today's world obsessed with status, wealth, and social comparison, there's one mistake people of all ages continue to make: revealing too much about their finances. Whether you're rich or struggling, sharing your full financial story can quietly sabotage your relationships. Why? Because the moment you open that door, you hand others a script, one they'll use to label, judge, and define you. That script won't be written with kindness. It will be built on assumptions, projections, envy, or pity. Let's be clear, this isn't about being secretive out of ego. It's about setting psychological boundaries. When you expose the full picture of your money, how much you have, how much you earn, or how little you possess, you invite things you didn't ask for. Opinions, expectations, manipulation. The Stoics warned us: if you seek peace, protect what is most likely to disturb it. And few things disturb human connection more than money. If you have too much, people start projecting. They assume you're greedy. They minimize your struggles. They expect you to give, to support, to help financially, emotionally, socially, without ever asking if you're willing. Suddenly, your generosity becomes a contract, one you never agreed to. Every move you make is viewed through the distorted lens of your wealth. They stop seeing you for youth. They only see what they think you can give. And if you have too little, the dynamic reverses. Now, you become an object of judgment. You're offered solutions that miss the point. You're treated with quiet condescension that feels more like distance. Even the ones who once looked up to you may begin to treat you as less. Because sadly, in a world that glorifies success, financial struggle isn't seen as noble. It's seen as something to avoid, even reject that. So when you share your financial problems in the wrong places, hoping for support, you often invite something far colder: disrespect. The Stoic solution: silent mastery. Marcus Aurelius never flaunted his empire. Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, warned fiercely about the trap of luxury. Epictetus, born into slavery, reminded us that real wealth is needing little. None of them boasted, none of them complained. They walked through the world with quiet, unshakable presence. Let your life speak for itself, and let your silence protect the parts of you that others can't fully understand. or deserve to know, whether they had much or very little. The Stoics never allowed wealth to become the core of their identity. For them, true abundance wasn't found in how much you had, but in how little you needed. As Epictetus once said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. To live wisely and well, you must master the art of silent power. Let your lifestyle reflect your inner values, not your bank balance. Let your calm be your currency. Because when people don't know the full picture, they can't twist the story. And that's exactly how you maintain control. Here's a powerful, real-life example. The silent investor. He was a retired executive who lived humbly in a quiet little town. His clothes were simple. He never bragged about his past. He rarely spoke about money. Most people assumed he lived on a modest pension. What they didn't know was this. Over the course of decades, he had quietly built an investment portfolio worth millions through discipline, patience, and silence. And yet, he never flaunted it. Not to feel important, not to earn praise. He simply didn't need to, because true power doesn't need to shout. It whispers. He donated to local charities, always anonymously. He mentored a handful of young men, never once hinting at his wealth. When he passed away, the entire town was stunned, not because he was rich, but because he never made anyone else feel small. That is Stoicism in practice. So, what can you do instead? Talk to a financial advisor, not your curious neighbor. If you give, do so without broadcasting it. When asked about money, reply with calm. I prefer not to discuss numbers. I focus on living simply. And if you mentor others, teach them values and principles, not income, by living this way. You preserve your emotional energy and protect your self-worth from being warped by other people's assumptions or expectations. Final thought. Money speaks loudly, but wisdom, it stays quiet. If you want to age with strength, dignity, and peace, let your finances be the one mystery no one can figure out. And now, we arrive at a deeper kind of silence, the kind that protects your pain, because, in life, there are certain scars that don't belong in the spotlight. Some storms, no matter how bravely you've survived them, are best remembered in silence, not shared for applause or validation. As we grow older, we begin to understand this truth. Not everything you've endured needs to become a story. Some experiences exist solely to make you stronger, not to be explained or turned into entertainment. And one of the most common areas where people overexpose themselves is family conflict. So why should you keep your family issues private? Because when you open up about deep family problems, you're not just telling a story, you're inviting others to judge what they've never lived. People will form opinions, take sides, and give advice you never asked for. Some might even use your vulnerability against you, subtly or directly. What began as personal pain soon becomes public gossip. And worst of all, they weren't there for the trauma. But now they feel entitled to tell you how to feel about it. Don't turn your home into a circus for others' amusement. The Stoics understood this clearly. They didn't believe in emotional oversharing. They believed in resolving conflict quietly or within. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others, strict with yourself." That means when someone hurts you, don't rush to announce it to the world. Don't seek revenge through words. Focus on calming your own mind. Speak with reason, not with resentment. Heal with discipline, not with drama. When you keep your family's darkest moments to yourself, it doesn't mean you're denying your pain. It means you're honoring it. It means you're choosing dignity in a world too careless to hold your truth with care. Now, let's be real. What actually happens when you overshare family conflict? You become trapped in the narrative. The more you repeat it, the more you become it. Healing slows down. You relive the pain again and again. Others may twist your words. Colleagues, neighbors, even acquaintances may use what you shared to make you look weak, to judge your character, or to spread rumors. It can tear your family apart. Stories change when passed from mouth to mouth. What was once healing becomes suspicion. Distance turns into division. So protect what's sacred, not. Every story needs a stage. Not every wound needs to be witnessed. And in the next part, we'll continue exploring the kinds of silence that don't weaken us, but protect us. There's a quiet nobility in choosing not to expose your inner circle to the world, because let's face it, every family has its chaos, generational wounds, dysfunction, unspoken pain. But not every detail needs to be aired out. Why? Because outsiders don't carry the weight of your history. They weren't there when things broke, and they certainly won't be the ones to fix it. So keep what's sacred. Sacred not to protect the guilty, but to protect the healing process. But what if someone tries to provoke you? What if they push for details, bait you into gossip, or corner you into oversharing? That's when you use what the Stoics called strategic detachment. Respond with calm and dignity. Family is complicated. I choose peace over blame. Some things are best kept between the hearts who lived through them. I've learned what I needed to. That's enough for me now. These are not evasions. These are boundaries built on wisdom. But remember, keeping things private doesn't mean avoiding the work. Stoicism never teaches repression. It teaches introspection and personal accountability. So what do you do with all the pain that's still unresolved? Write it down. Journaling is a timeless Stoic practice. Pour your emotions onto paper, not people. Seek therapy or coaching, not to vent, but to process and transform. Forgive, not for them, but for your own peace. Observe patterns, break toxic cycles. Use pain as information to grow, not an identity to carry. Don't inherit chaos. Rise above it. Here's a powerful real-life example. The woman who chose silence. She was in her 70s, graceful, composed, and wise. Her adult children respected her deeply, not because she was loud, but because she had presence. In her youth, her marriage nearly collapsed. Her extended family had been torn apart by an inheritance battle. But she never told her neighbors. She never used those wounds for social sympathy. When asked, she would smile and say, "Like any family, we've weathered storms, but I've learned to walk through the rain with grace." She forgave quietly. She created space with dignity. She healed in private. And because she shared so little, her words carried immense weight. That is Stoic strength in action. Final reflection: as you grow older, the urge to explain your pain begins to fade. You start to realize people don't need to know what you've been through to respect who you are today. The less you talk about family wounds, the more space you create for healing. Not every broken piece needs to be broadcast. Let them guess, let them wonder. Let your peace speak louder than your story. Speak less, heal more. That's how a Stoic ages, with inner calm, emotional intelligence, and unshakable strength. Yes, we all carry regrets, but not everyone is meant to carry yours. There's a strange comfort in confession, in laying your regrets bare. hoping that saying them out loud will somehow lift their weight. But here's the hard truth. The Stoics knew, well, not every regret is meant to be shared. Why? Because if you share it at the wrong time, with the wrong person, your wisdom can be mistaken for weakness. Not everyone listens with compassion. Some listen to judge. Some will store what you say, like ammunition, and use it later. The Stoic principle: regret is a tool, not a tattoo. To the Stoic mind, regret is not a wound to wallow in. It's a signal, a sign that it's time to grow, adjust, and move forward. As Epictetus once said, it's not the things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. That includes your past. Your mistakes do not define you, unless you rehearse them endlessly or wear them as your identity. Sharing every regret you've ever carried can quietly backfire. You might believe you're being authentic brave, but others might not see it that way. They might interpret your openness as instability. Some may quietly lose respect for you. Others will twist your words, turn your truth into gossip, or worse, use it against you when you're most vulnerable. You think you're being real, but they think you're unraveling. Why should you guard your regrets? Let's get real. Imagine telling someone, I regret not being there for my child. I regret cheating in a past relationship. I regret wasting 10 years in the wrong career. Now pause. Ask yourself, is this person emotionally mature enough to hear that without judging you? Do they see you as someone who has grown, or someone who's failed? Will they respect you after that conversation? Or will they quietly distance themselves, treating you like a cautionary tale? The older you get, the more you realize regret is sacred ground. It's the soil where real growth happens, and growth isn't meant to be a public spectacle. Real life example: 2 men, 2 paths, both in their 60s. Both had made serious mistakes in their 30s. The first man, he wore his regrets like fresh wounds, constantly talking about what he should have done, what he could have become. Every time he spoke, people pulled away. He never understood why. His honesty wasn't helping, it was hurting. The second man, he carried his regrets like ancient lessons, quiet, deep, and private. He never mentioned them unless it served to uplift or enlighten. He never dumped them into casual conversations for sympathy. Guess who people trusted more? Guess who had more presence, more weight, more respect? Powerful people don't broadcast their regrets. They embody the lessons. So what should you share instead? You don't have to become a closed book, but you do have to become a well-edited one. Share the lesson, not the open wound. Speak from the other side of the fire, not while you're still burning in it. Make your pain useful only if it heals, uplifts, or empowers. A Stoic doesn't deny regret. They simply don't wear it like a badge. Inner alchemy: how to turn regret into personal power. Here's how to transform regret into strength without turning it into a stage performance. Journal your regrets, honestly. Let the paper carry what people can't. Describe the event, the consequence, the emotion, then ask, what did I learn that I can teach? Practice self-forgiveness, not self-punishment. Regret is human, but living in regret is a choice. Stoicism reminds us, let the past inform you, not imprison you. Make amends, but do it quietly. If you've hurt someone and it's safe to reach out, do it. But don't turn it into a performance. Quiet dignity speaks louder than public guilt. Refine your present actions. Live today in a way that makes your past regret irrelevant to your future identity. How to respond when asked. Someone might ask you, what's your biggest regret? You don't need to spill your soul. try this instead. I've made my share of mistakes, but each one helped shape who I am today. I don't dwell on regrets. I focus on building what's ahead. Let's just say, I've learned to value time, presence, and integrity. That's not a deflection. That's a response from someone who's done the inner work, who's processed their pain and moved forward with clarity. The power of silent evolution. Don't owe the world a speech about your past failures. What you owe is the discipline to evolve from them. In fact, some of the most respected elders you'll ever meet are the ones who've walked through fire and never felt the need to show you their burn marks. Their characters spoke for them. They didn't cry for attention. They walked with quiet resilience. That is the Stoic path. Final thought: regret is not a confession booth. It's a classroom. You don't need to tell everyone what you did wrong to prove you've changed. Just show them through presence, through patience, through power. Don't explain. Don't defend. Let your future justify your past. So, as you grow older, keep your deepest regrets where they belong, transformed into wisdom, shared only when they build, never when they bleed. Let the world wonder how you became so composed. Let them see the strength, but not the scars. A Stoic doesn't walk around showing their scars, because they don't ask the world for forgiveness. They earn self-respect from within. Loneliness, something nearly everyone feels, remains one of the most misjudged emotions. It's universal, but also deeply misunderstood, misread, and dangerously weaponized when exposed to the wrong people. As we age, loneliness begins to take a new shape. It's no longer about being left out of a party or waiting for a text that never comes. It becomes quieter, deeper, a silent ache, a longing not just for company, but for presence, for meaning, for understanding. But here's the Stoic truth. To reveal your loneliness to the wrong person is to hand them a blueprint to your emotional core. In a world where attention is cheap and manipulation is currency, loneliness isn't just a feeling anymore. It becomes a liability if revealed carelessly. Why you must guard your inner solitude. Let's be clear, admitting that you're human, that you feel alone sometimes, is not weakness, but exposing the full depth of your solitude, especially to those who haven't earned your trust, is dangerous. Because, here's what happens. Some people will pity you, others will quietly withdraw, and a few will exploit it. They'll treat your loneliness like a disease, like a flaw in your character. They'll reduce your dignity, not out of cruelty, but out of discomfort. And what started as a vulnerable truth becomes a social disadvantage. What you hoped would be met with empathy might instead be stored and used later as emotional ammunition. The Stoic alternative: embrace solitude. Silently, Seneca said it best. If you are never alone, you are never free. Solitude is not your enemy, it is your teacher. And like any great teacher, it doesn't beg for attention. It works in silence, shaping you from within. To constantly speak of your loneliness is to hand over something sacred. The Stoics understood, healing doesn't come from external noise. It comes from internal reflection. They didn't post their emptiness online. They didn't perform it for sympathy. They sat with it. They asked, what is this loneliness pointing to that I've been avoiding? And when they rose alone. But they rose stronger. Emotional intelligence. Read the room before you share your loneliness with someone. Ask yourself, do they have the emotional capacity to truly hear me? Can they hold space without trying to fix you? Can they listen without inserting their discomfort, judgment, or shallow solutions? Because most people aren't trained in emotional intelligence. they'll default to avoidance, awkwardness, or empty advice. The result, you feel even lonelier, not because you are, but because your truth was mishandled. And that's not just an emotional sting. That's a spiritual wound, harder to heal than loneliness itself. Real life. Contrast to elderly women both in their 70s. The first, she constantly told her children, friends, and neighbors how lonely she was. She sought connection, but unknowingly repelled it. People began to withdraw, not because they didn't care, but because they felt helpless, overwhelmed, or even guilty. The second woman, she embraced her solitude. She poured it into letter writing, quiet mentoring, long, thoughtful walks. She made peace with silence and practiced it like an art form. People were drawn to her, not out of pity, but out of deep admiration. She never had to say, "I'm lonely." Her very presence said, "I'm whole, even when I walk alone." That ... is power. What you can do instead, turn loneliness into purpose. Volunteer, mentor, build something. Teach, journal. Your emptiness, don't offload it onto the nearest open ear. Transform it into beauty, art, letters, music, prayer, and most importantly, choose sacred spaces to express your emotional truth. A trusted therapist, a spiritual counselor, a friend whose loyalty has stood the test of time. Because your deepest loneliness isn't meant for the world to dissect. It's meant to sculpt the depth of your character. Spiritual reframe: being alone does not mean you are unworthy. Yet far too often, people tie solitude to shame. But here's what the Stoics would remind you. Loneliness is not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of your current season. And seasons always change. You are not unwanted. That's a lie society has taught you. Your worth is not measured by how many messages you receive. It's measured by how deeply you understand yourself, especially when no one's around. Because when you're alone, you finally hear the things the noisy world drowns out. Your intuition, your old wounds, your hidden strength. The Stoic walks alone not because they are unloved, but because they've chosen peace over noise. Final reflection: never confuse connection with oversharing. Never confuse healing with confessing. You are allowed to feel lonely, but you are not obligated to perform that loneliness to be validated. Let your silence dignify your experience. Let your solitude sharpen your emotional resilience. And when someone asks, "How are you always so calm? How do you stay so grounded?" just smile, because they will never understand the quiet battles you fought in the dark. And that's exactly why you now walk in light. Don't share your dreams too early. The more you speak of your future, the weaker it becomes. Not because dreams lose value when spoken, but because words invite noise, interference, and even subtle sabotage. In today's age of oversharing, we feel pressured to announce everything: our goals, our deadlines, our next big move. But ancient wisdom, especially Stoic wisdom, says the opposite. Act, don't announce. Build in silence. Let results speak on your behalf. Your dreams need protection, not publicity. Why oversharing weakens you every time you speak your plans out loudest, especially in detail. You trigger a psychological illusion. Studies show, telling others your goals gives your brain the false reward of feeling like you've already made progress. You receive validation, but not transformation. You talk too much about the journey, and your mind starts to believe you've already arrived. That's why many start strong, then finish nothing. The high performance mindset. move in silence. Truly disciplined people, those with a high performance mindset, protect their ambitions like sacred fire. They speak less, do more, and master the art of strategic silence. They don't need to tell you what they're building, because eventually you'll see it. Stoic insight. Plan without performance. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Apply that same idea to your vision. Don't waste time arguing about what your future will look like. Build it quietly, patiently, relentlessly. Let your life speak for you, not your lips. What happens when you overshare? Revealing. Your full plans can backfire in subtle but powerful ways. People begin to plant doubt. Do you really think that's going to work? Their fear starts to influence yours. They stop cheering for you and start watching you. Some even begin measuring you, and sadly, some secretly hope you fail. Not everyone claps when you grow. Some smile in your face but pray for your silence. You fall into performance mode, updating others instead of executing your vision. Every word you share drains a little energy from what you're meant to be doing. The power of psychological discipline. Discipline isn't just about routine. It's about knowing what to protect from the world. Not everyone deserves access to your mind. Your goals are not public property. The Stoic does not stay silent because they're hiding something. They stay silent because they're focused. No wasted energy, no emotional leaks, just forward motion. Practicing strategic silence in daily life. Few don't need to go completely mute, but you must become intentional about what you reveal in, who you reveal it to. Here's how: only share your plans with those directly involved in the process. When asked, respond calmly and vaguely. I'm working on something meaningful. Let's talk when it's ready. Still in progress, but I'm excited. This helps you preserve emotional momentum and prevents others from interfering too soon. There once was an architect, not the kind who built buildings, but the kind who built something even more complex: his own company. For 5 years, he worked in silence. No Instagram updates, no LinkedIn hype, no coming soon announcements. When people asked what he was up to, he kept it simple: just learning, trying new things, keeping my head down. Then one day, he launched, and overnight, the world was shocked. The product, impressive. The scale, massive. The clarity of vision, undeniable. He didn't just succeed, he surprised everyone. That is the quiet power of unannounced growth. Closing reflection: you are not obligated to explain your vision. You are only obligated to pursue it with discipline, with consistency, and with mental clarity. In an age obsessed with noise, your silence becomes a strategy. Your privacy becomes power, like a seed that grows best in undisturbed soil. Let your plans develop in the dark, until they bloom so brightly, no one can deny them. Speak less, execute more. And when they ask, how did you do it? Let your results speak. In a culture obsessed with flexing, flaunting, and financial exposure. Keeping your wealth private is no longer just a sign of humility. It's a form of spiritual discipline, a layer of psychological armor. Because the moment people know exactly what you earn or what you own, you stop being seen as a person. You become a symbol, and often it's not in your favor. Why people want to know your number? They'll say it's curiosity. They'll act like it's admiration. But more often than not, it's comparison. They don't just want to know how much you make. They want to know where they stand next to you. When you reveal your net worth, you don't just expose a number. You invite judgment and expectation, entitlement, to go from being a human being to being a measuring stick for praise, for competition, for resentment, for manipulation. And over time, all of that drains your peace. The Stoic lens: privacy is power, Epictetus said. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. The Stoics never measured power by how much they showed. They measured it by how little they needed. To show a nothing grounds you more, nothing centers you more, than not needing to tell the world what you earn. You might drive the same car for 10 years. You might wear simple clothes, but behind the scenes, you could be investing, growing, preparing, and no one knows. That's not weakness, that's control. Emotional intelligence. Understand the real risk sharing. Your income or your assets might seem harmless at first, but ask yourself, will they treat me differently now? Will this shift the dynamic between us? Will they now expect me to pay for everything? Will they start to silently resent me? High emotional intelligence isn't just about reading words. It's about sensing the energy shift that happens after you speak. True strength is when people underestimate your wealth, but overestimate your wisdom. The art of financial privacy. You do not owe your income story to friends, not to neighbors, not even to extended family. Why? Because money changes relationships. Some will start to expect handouts, others will start competing silently. Some will quietly resent your progress because it reminds them of their stagnation. And a few will shift their proximity to you just to gain access. That's not paranoia. That's pattern recognition. Today, privacy isn't a luxury. It's a requirement for inner peace. Real example, the silent millionaire there. A man in his late 60s. He lives in a modest house, drives a used Toyota, eats home-cooked meals. But what people don't know is he owns multiple rental properties. His net worth exceeds $7 million. He travels discreetly, donates privately, invests quietly. And the best part? No one ever asks him for money. No one resents his lifestyle because no one knew, and he prefers it that way, to live rich without looking rich. That's the highest form of self-mastery. Final note: luxury is silence. The true luxury mindset doesn't seek validation, it doesn't perform, it doesn't prove. The more you feel the urge to display your wealth, the more you are being ruled by it. When you stop talking about your money, something powerful shifts. You stop using it to impress and start using it to build. You invest for freedom, not image. You save for legacy, not lifestyle. You protect your peace, not provoke envy. That is wealth from the inside out. What oversharing does to the soul. Each time you speak about your financial wins, your salary, your success, your assets, you chip away at something sacred, your mystique, your independence, your emotional freedom from other people's expectations. Because once the world starts watching, the pressure begins. And if you don't keep up that image, even if you're still doing well, you're seen as failing in their eyes. That's not success. That's emotional slavery. And Stoicism sets you free from it. How to stay private and powerful. Here's how you can keep your wealth sacred. Never reveal your exact salary or earnings. Say, I'm comfortable, or I'm building long term. Avoid financial comparisons even as jokes. Don't showcase your luxury, your investments, or your lifestyle online. Let your peace do the flexing. Teach your children humility around money. Remember, privacy starts at home. The quieter your wealth, the louder your peace. Final reflection: you don't need to hide your success, but you must protect it in a world that shouts every achievement. Silent success is a revolutionary act in a fake world where everyone flexes. Financial privacy is spiritual discipline. A Stoic doesn't need applause for building freedom. He needs discipline to protect it. So let them wonder, let them guess, let them assume you're average while you live in quiet abundance. Because in the end, what you don't reveal is often what keeps you safe, respected, and powerful. Not all power is meant to be understood. World constantly asks, what made you strong? Where did your transformation come from? Tell us your secret. But sometimes, the strongest answer is silence. Because people don't just want to know. They want to replicate it, decode it, diminish it, control it. The hidden forge of real strength. Your strength didn't come from a single quote or a motivational video. It was forged in suffering, in solitude and secret battles no one saw. The moment you try to reduce that to a soundbite, you weaken it. You strip it of its sacred weight. Real resilience isn't born in front of an audience. It's born in private. Moments when you broke down but stood back up, when you were betrayed but didn't turn bitter, when you were tired but still chose integrity. The world may see your surface, but only you know the storms you've survived. And some parts of that journey are too sacred to share, even with the ones who love you. Stoic philosophy, let the outcome speak. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one. You don't need to explain your transformation. You don't need to recount your pain. Let your actions carry the truth. The truly powerful do not reveal the root of their strength. They let the fruit speak for itself. Why you must guard it when you share the source of your strength. You risk three things. It becomes someone else's story. They retell it, twist it, minimize it. You reopen old wounds. What you healed privately might be misunderstood publicly. You hand others a weapon. If they ever turn on you, they'll know exactly where to aim. Some of the strongest people in history were also the most mysterious. They understood what people don't know about you, they can't use against you. The boundaries of the soul and Stoic thinking. The soul is sovereign. It's not a marketplace, not a spectacle. Some experiences, private hells you've endured, should remain sacred. Not out of shame, but because you've earned the right to guard them. Just because it happened to you doesn't mean it belongs to the world. The power of mystery. Every wise man or woman carries a kind of quiet power. It's not arrogance, it's not distance, it's depth. You feel it, they've seen something. They've endured, they've transcended, but they don't explain it. And that mystery, it's not weakness, it's magnetism. It's legacy. Modern example. The quiet survivor. There's a woman who lost her entire family in a war. She rebuilt her life in silence. She started a business. She raised orphans. She helped hundreds. People admire her calm, her strength, her grace, and when they ask, how did you become so wise? She just smiles. She doesn't need to tell the story. She embodies the strength. That is mastery. Final reflection. Not every chapter of your life is meant to be read aloud. Some victories must remain sacred. Some pain must become your private temple, where only you and the universe know what was overcome. The strongest person in the room is often the one who speaks the least. So next time someone asks, how did you become this way? Smile and let your silence echo. Because once you understand this, No one can trigger you, no one can shake you, no one can take what they don't even know exists as you age. One truth becomes clear. It's not what you say that defines you. It's what you choose not to say. You stop trying to impress. You start protecting your peace. You no longer bleed your secrets to feel seen. You preserve them to stay clear. You stop explaining your scars, because the world doesn't deserve your wounds. Each of these 7 sacred secrets we've explored, they're not boundaries built from fear. They're shields forged in wisdom, not meant to push others away, but to bring you back home to what truly matters. A quiet soul is a powerful one. A private life is a protected one. A disciplined mind is an unshakable one. In a world that overshares, be the exception. Let your life be your message. Let your actions be your answer. Let your peace be your protection. You don't need everyone to understand you. You only need to understand yourself. So tell me, which of the 7 secrets spoke to you most deeply? Leave a comment below. Your voice might be exactly what someone else needed today. And if this video reminded you to guard your mind, value your privacy, and protect your peace, you're already walking the path of a true Stoic. If you found strength in this message, like the video, share it with someone learning to walk in silence, and subscribe to Life Through Stoicism, where ancient wisdom meets modern power. Here, we don't just talk Stoicism, we live it, quietly, relentlessly. Until next time, speak less, hold more,